Hello, lovely viewers, and welcome back to the Bold and the Beautiful News official YouTube channel. As Sheila Sharp, Kimberlin Brown, and Lisa Yamada grieve the death of Luna Natsuwa and Lisa Yamada, Steffi Forrester and Jacqueline McInneswood attempted to eject Bill Spencer and Don Yamet from a hospital, according to the Bold and the Beautiful BNB recap for Friday, July 11th. Romy Park reaffirmed that she was happy Luna, after Poppy Natsuwa was deceased, she was dragged aside and given a private reprimand by Lee Finnegan Naomi Matsuda. Lee believed Luna never had a chance with her as a mother because she thought Poppy was a terrible mother. But when Lee suddenly seemed to care, Poppy sneered. Lee maintained that her niece would have fared better without Poppy's influence in her life, recalling Luna as a nice little kid. Lee felt sorry for Poppy despite her tirade about all the harm Luna had unleashed. Following Deacon Sean Cannon, on Friday's BNB episode, he made light of Sheila running out of 9 lives and then went to gather some information on Luna for her in Liam Spencer's Scott Clifton hospital room. He didn't wake up. Steffi provided updates on Liam's health and the fact that he saved her life to Ridge Forrester, Torsten Kay, Taylor Hayes, and Rebecca Budig once they arrived close to the waiting area. Hope Logan Anukika and Noel informed Bill that Liam had survived the operation as he rushed in. Steffi recounted how Luna attempted to murder her before Liam stepped in and said that Bill didn't deserve to be there. Steffi urged Bill to leave after he was held responsible for the incident by Steffi, Ridge, and Taylor. Even though Bill felt sorry for everything, he still wanted to see Liam and wouldn't leave him. Steffi said unequivocally that Bill was the cause of Liam's death and that Luna also drew a pistol on Will Spencer Crummer. After hearing about the sting operation, Bill was shocked and wanted to know why. He had just recently learned about it. Steffi persisted in blaming Bill, who expressed sorrow for all the ways he had let Liam down. Steffi was still upset with Bill, even though he wanted to show Liam how much he loved him and persuade him to fight. Deacon located John Finnegan, Tanner Nolan, and they proceeded to Sheila's room together. Sheila was saddened to hear that her grandchild didn't make it and had concerns concerning Luna. As she wept, Deacon consoled her. She returned with hope and went too. She returned to Liam's bedside and spoke to him once more about how she wasn't prepared to say goodbye. In the end, Steffi joined Hope in their hug, refusing to let this terrible Luna experience take Liam away. The Liam nightmare will continue to strengthen Hope and Steffi's friendship, according to previews for The Bold and the Beautiful. Don't miss the following step, then. There will be more exciting Bold and the Beautiful spoilers, news, and updates available on CDL. Make us your first choice for BMBB. University Hospital's corridors reverberated tensely as Steffi Forrester rushed down the hallway. Her high-heeled shoes clicked frantically on the gleaming linoleum floor. Her eyes, which were frozen with barely controlled rage, were fixed on Bill Spencer, the man who had just entered the waiting room. Steffi's blood pressure shot through the roof at the mere sight of him. He stood for more to her than business conflicts and previous betrayals. He was a domineering, invasive force that constantly forced his way into her life. Family at their hour of greatest need. Liam had survived a horrific gunshot and was still in critical condition, clinging to life by a thread. Bill finally dared to appear, acting as if he cared. Steffi's voice cut like a whip across the quiet. "You have no business being here." Now that the tension was obvious, the nurses stopped in their tracks. Bill's characteristic arrogant smile was somewhat lessened by the solemn atmosphere as he raised his palms defensively. His hands were clenched as he added, "I'm here because Liam is my son." Teeth. Steffi's eyes heated as he said, "And I won't be told where I can and can't be while he's fighting for his life." Instead of power-hungry manipulators attempting to take over the room, like they usually do, Liam craves serenity and family. Acting like this is about him is not the point. You bulldoze over others because you are here for yourself, your image, your guilt, or whatever else you convince yourself. Finn came up behind her and tried to settle her with a soothing touch on her shoulder. Despite his presence, it was useless. Her feelings were bubbling over. She turned and pointed towards a hallway. Bill glanced at her in shock and anger and said, "Go now before I have hospital security escort you out." But before he could answer, everyone's attention was captured by a quiet sob coming from down the corridor. Sheila Carter sat on a hospital seat in a quiet part of the intensive care unit, shattered in a manner she hadn't been in decades. A little, squished photograph of Luna Natsuwa, the girl she recently was firmly grasped in her hands as she started to really understand and would never see again. As she gazed at the picture, her fingers shook, and she brushed her hand over the edges as if doing so might somehow bring her granddaughter back. A harsh reminder of how swiftly happiness had given way to destruction, her typically flawless eyeliner was smudged over her cheeks. Sheila said she didn't deserve this, to no one in particular. She was a light so bright, and now it's just gone. Deacon Sharp said, "Approach stealthily, unsure of how near to approach." This was the first time he had ever seen Sheila so emotional. This was not anger or retaliation. This was grief, genuine, heartbreaking grief. Kneeling next to her, he murmured softly, "Sheila, I'm so sorry. I am aware of her significance to you." Slowly, Sheila shook her head. "No, you don't. No one does. I was unable to inform her. I was unable to demonstrate to her my humanity and my potential for improvement." She broke off into more tears, and Deacon put an arm around her hesitantly. For an instant there was no threat, no deceit, no plots. Just a grandma lamenting a kid that was deprived of her whole life. Another storm was developing over the structure. Lee Finnegan grabbed her sister Poppy Natsuo by the arm and closed the door behind them in an empty supply hallway. Their tight features bore jagged shadows from the bright fluorescent light overhead. "You have no right to say that," Lee growled in a low, menacing voice. "I'm glad she died." "Away. What kind of mother would say anything so disgusting?" Poppy's eyes flashed, not out of remorse, but in defiance. "You have no idea what I mean," she said calmly. "I was in mourning." Nolly interrupted her with a snap. "You were expressing your self-centered resentment. Admit it. Luna became more than you could ever be, and you despised it. You were angry because she had a shot at a genuine life and a real family." Lee wasn't finished, but Poppy sneered. "I saw you give up on her aspirations. I saw you repeatedly deceive her in front of her, constantly harboring secrets, always. Prioritizing oneself. You dare now pretend that you are the one who is suffering." At last, Poppy blew up. "You always believed that you were the perfect and superior sister. But as we were growing up, you were equally judgmental and aloof. You didn't care about Luna, you only cared about being right." Her gaze remained unblinking as we moved closer. "I may not have always been warm. I adored Luna, even if I may have been cruel. And when you didn't stand up for her, I did. You can't bear the fact that she eventually discovered you were a phony and that she passed away knowing it." The ensuing hush was oppressive. Poppy blinked and seemed uncertain for the first time. Did we say anything that was true? Was she really under the impression that Luna's passing was a relief? For herself, not for Luna. Even she was unable to openly acknowledge the terrible realization. However, Poppy's mask slipped, her control facade faltered, and something within her snapped in that instant. Steffi had withdrawn to a chair in the corner of the waiting area, her arms crossed over her chest. Finn sat next to her and attempted to reassure them quietly. He said, "We're all raw right now." With tears welling up in her eyes, Steffi turned to him and said, "You even Bill, but we can't let our grief destroy what's left of us." Finn cradled her cheek and said, "What if it's already too late? What if everything we've built is already crumbling?" The weight in the air even as he added, "It's not. We hold on to each other. We hold on to what matters and we fight for it. Otherwise." Sheila followed Deacon as he walked inside the room. The two seemed torn, worn, and drastically altered. After hesitating, Sheila straightened her back upon seeing Finn and Steffi. Her voice was hardly steady as she said, "I know I'm the last person anyone wants to see right now. I loved Luna more than I ever imagined, however, since she was my granddaughter." Steffi sprang up suddenly, his anger flaming. "Don't act like you're not involved in this. You put all of our lives at peril. You urged Luna to have faith in those she couldn't trust, like you." Silently, Sheila said, "I didn't kill her. However, I wish we could switch positions." Everyone became silent as she said, "Was it real? Was that a calculated move?" Nobody was able to tell. But even Steffi had no answer for the first time in a long time. The whole Forrester, Spencer, and Natsuo families were left in a state of bereavement, guilt, and bewilderment as darkness fell outside the hospital windows. Ridge was still not here. Brooke was returning from a hopeful vacation, and he had been held back in Paris on business. The hospital itself turned into a battlefield of emotions, suffering, rage, guilt, and grief. Every character is caught in a spiral of their own. Bill sat by himself in a seat, saying prayers he wasn't even certain he believed in, having withdrew to the hospital chapel. "Please," he said to himself. His voice broke as he said, "Let Liam return. Let me fix this. In the meanwhile, Lee said, let me be the father I never really was. Eventually left the supply corridor, leaving Poppy despondent and slouched against the wall. Lee could still hear her words. Jealousy, remorse, and unresolved sisterly rivalry abound in these remarks. We inhaled deeply. She had always attempted to be the strong, sensible one. But even she had been disturbed tonight. She stopped by Luna's room as she passed the intensive care unit, staring at the vacant bed with a tense heart. The machines had been removed. Place personal items in a box. I'll honor it. It was final. Too final. You, she mumbled. I'll make sure that no one forgets who you really were, regardless of what your mother claims. In a last-minute surprise before the closing credits played, a young nurse came into a side hallway and gave Finn a sealed letter. We discovered this among Luna's possessions, she remarked. Your name was on it. Finn grabbed the envelope, bewildered. Luna's handwriting was delicate as she scribbled his name. He opened it cautiously while looking over the contents. His face became white in a matter of seconds. He staggered back. Lips parted, eyes wide. Steffi ran to meet him. What? What is it? He gazed at her broken. It's a letter from Luna, and it changes everything. What was written in the letter? Was it about Sheila, about her father, or maybe something that linked her death to someone else? The anguish would not let go, and the mystery became deeper. Viewers clutched their hearts as the broadcast went to black, fearing the impact on Monday. Finn remained still. His hands trembled with the fragile paper. Like a brand, every word on the paper burned into his mind. Unbearable weight, stunning and permanent. Steffi tightened her hold on his arm. Every second that goes by, concern grows. Finn, she said once again, this time with more urgency. What does it say, please? He turned slowly to her, his eyes sparkling and uncontrollably weeping. He gasped out as she knew. She was attempting to protect someone, and she knew something. As Steffi's heart fell, her thoughts. Bursting with potential. Who is being protected? From what? Finn turned to look at Sheila, who was still hovering close to the waiting room door. His voice was rough as he continued, it's not clear yet. However, she made a comment about her father and the night she passed away. She said she didn't believe it was an accident, and that she was in danger. It was like a tidal surge of words. The glimmer of something deeper. Luna may not have just passed away from medical failure. Made the already intolerable anguish over her passing even more difficult. Perhaps someone wanted her gone. Finn looked again to the letter, searching for more information and clarity, but it was jumbled and written in terror and hurry. It described treachery close to home and shattered trust. Fearing that someone had overheard, she had written it the night before she entered critical decline. Finn shuddered when she told him about a voice arguing about quiet and the line. Please don't think it was an accident if anything were to happen to me. I was quieted. Sensing that something was really off, Deacon took a step closer. What is it? He inquired. Slowly, Finn folded the letter. I'm not sure yet. However, Luna was attempting to leave a trail because she was afraid. Someone wanted her to keep silent. Maybe she knew too much. Sheila felt her breath catch instantly. Do you mean that she was murdered? The word hung thick in the air. Steffi shook her head in an attempt to comprehend. Who would do it at all? She wasn't dangerous. A pupil. A vibrant girl. Who would want her? Dead. Nobody knew the solution. Slowly, however, everyone's focus shifted to Poppy. Poppy sat slumped against the wall back in the corridor. The oppressive cloud of her own spiraling shame and the weight of her sister's accusations. Her hands shook. Her cheekbones were smeared with mascara. Her words were repeated in her memory. I'm relieved she's deceased. At least she hadn't intended it that way. However, when she saw Luna on that bed, cold and dead, something inside of her had exploded. Prior to, she had been angry, she had been sad. The fact that she had experienced relief prior to grieving made her ill. Lee saw that the tension had increased when she returned to the waiting area. Finn approached her holding the letter. Lee's expression darkened as he said, We found this in Luna's things. It comes from her. Finn paused before asking, What does it say? She believed that someone was attempting to quiet her, and that she was in danger. It's ambiguous, but it's sufficient that I'm not. Lee's lips opened a little in shock and let it go. You think someone at the hospital? No, he responded, his voice lowered. Danger. Lee's eyes instantly turned to the corridor where Poppy had vanished, and he said, I think it was personal. Finn didn't respond when asked. You think it was her? But his tense jaw told it all. When Poppy eventually came out of the hallway, everyone was gazing at her, as if she were a ghost. "What?" she asked, inquired warily. With an almost parental attitude, Sheila went forward and said, "What's going on?" Luna left the letter. She believed she was in danger. Although Poppy's eyes widened a little, she immediately covered the crack with her poise. "That's absurd," she remarked too hastily. She didn't understand. She was on medication. Prior to her incident, she wrote it. Finn chimed in icily. She had a clear brain. Poppy took a deep breath. "Are you making any accusations against me?" Steffi's arms were folded. "We're only attempting to comprehend why a young lady would feel compelled to write anything of that kind and why, in the event of fear, she would not approach you, her mother." Poppy gasped for air. "She confessed in private that she didn't trust me, as I had no interest in her. I would never harm her, but not in the manner she required." Finn raised the letter. She composed. He said that if she spoke, she would destroy everything. Then he saw that I was listening. There was silence in the room. Deacon's head cocked. "She," said he, indicating that she was referring to a man and not Poppy. "I don't know what she heard," Steffi continued, "or a man working with Poppy." Poppy hurriedly shook her head. "I didn't murder my kid, but I'm not sure what she witnessed. I cherished her. I just had no idea how to demonstrate it. However, it was insufficient." Bill abruptly returned to the waiting room, clearly annoyed by the previous altercation. "What the heck is going on right now?" he inquired. "What did I miss?" he said, commenting on the intensity on everyone's faces. Deacon approached him. "Luna left a letter, a caution, said someone might try to make her disappear. That individual wished to keep her secret a secret." Bill's eyes narrowed. "What secret?" "Whatever it was, it scared her enough to write this before she died." Finn remarked, "We don't know yet." Bill glanced around the room, his old instincts taking over. "Well, you have two options. Hand that." Finn said, "We're going to the authorities, but I'm also going to do my own digging." He turned to Lee and asked, "Can you pull security footage from a night Luna coded? Every hallway, every visitor log. I want to know who went near her room." Lee nodded right away. "I'll take care of it." Across the hospital, Sheila was sitting in the chapel once more, her hands clasped in prayer. This might have seemed absurd in a different situation, but now. Deacon had silently followed her, observed her from the doorway, and she was frantic. "Let the truth come out," she said. "Let whomever injured her be brought to justice." "Do you believe someone actually did it?" "Do you believe that she was murdered?" he inquired. "If they did, I'll find them and make them pay for Luna. For everything she never got to be." Sheila glanced up, and the fire in her eyes had returned. Meanwhile, a guy emerged from a black car in a nearby dark parking garage. "SUV. We have a problem," he murmured softly, taking a phone out of his pocket and dialing. She left a letter. "They are heading to the police." The voice on the other end said emphatically, "You need to disappear now before they connect the dots." The man interrupted, saying, "No excuses. You were supposed to handle it cleanly. Now everything is unraveling. Get out of Los Angeles before you're named, because if you don't, you're dead." We returned inside with a flash drive. "The footage," she said. Finn connected it to a nearby computer and started to scrub through it. Minutes passed into an hour as he quickly sped through shots of hallways, nursing stations, and patient rooms before stopping and saying, "Freeze frame." Everyone leaned in as Luna's door appeared on the screen at 2:36 a.m. A silent figure came up. It wasn't a nurse, it wasn't your family, it was a man. The image was grainy, but the silhouette was familiar. Finn added a little to it, his stomach. Saying quietly, "Oh my God, it's Jack," Lee said. "No, that can't be right. Tokyo is where Jack is. He departed months ago." "Not based on this," Steffi said glumly. "He returned and kept his secret." "But why? What's the point of breaking into Luna's room?" Deacon questioned. Lee stumbled back, her palm over her lips. "Because he knew something," Finn whispered. "Or because she knew something about him. Jack can't be engaged in this, but deep down she thought Jack had secrets, always had, and now one of them may have led to Luna's death."